Hello. When you account for the lost moments in my longest friendships, my friendship with Geno still spanned in excess of 14 years, making it easily the longest friendship I've consistently kept. We explored and we discovered a lot together, which is why on July 15th I became overwhelmed, thinking about all the things that we had yet to experience. But through prayer, and in my desperation, I've clung very tightly to Paul's letter to the Thessalonians, and I'm constantly reminding myself that we do not grieve like those without hope. And so over the last 4 weeks, God has taken my attention away from what seems lost, and he's redirected my focus towards rejoicing in all the incredible things Geno and I were able to explore and discover together. Things like music and coffee and fast cars and lifted pickup trucks and mixed martial arts and the UFC and maybe a swollen lip or two that went along with that. Girls and sports and everything in between. And thank the Lord we were able to experience a Broncos Super Bowl win in our adult lives. But more importantly than all those things put together is that from the very beginning until the very end, he and I spent most of our friendship exploring and discovering God's call in our lives. Through fine arts and internships and mentorships in Bible college, we tackled all of it with excitement. And one of our earliest opportunities to do that was youth camp. It was a quintessential highlight of our adolescence. And I can neither confirm nor deny any stories you may or may not have heard of regarding pranks or getting into trouble at Camp Cedar Edge, but what sticks with me today are the late night talks about God, sweaty altar calls where teenagers learn to pray for each other, and the bonds formed because of camp's atmosphere, separation from distraction. Not only would youth camp push us into the next school year, but it developed within us an enduring fortitude that would push us into the rest of our lives. A insatiable passion to forsake everything else and chase after his whispers. When I was first asked to take the task of explaining the Geno Strong Memorial Fund, I was told, I feel bad that you've got to be the guy that has to talk about money. But I'll tell you right now, I don't. Why? Because Geno Roncone's entire life pivoted around his love for the teenagers of this community, and he served them with selfless abandon. And it was out of that fact that this memorial fund was birthed in the heart of Geno's mother. It is the hope of the family that even in his passing, Geno's life would be a blessing for other teens and youth pastors to come until the return of Christ. Here's the breakdown. The fund will be an interest-bearing account, and it will help create scholarships for students to send students to camp indefinitely. It will source income from individual donations, as well as the interest earned. 10% of all interest earned will be reinvested back into the fund, and 90% of it will be used every year to create these scholarships. The interest-bearing account will be separate from High Point's general fund, and it will be administered and dispersed by the church's board, as well as maintained by the accounts steering committee. Our initial goal is to reach what's needed to send one kid a year, every year, to youth camp, and that's about $20,000. I'm not going to stand up here and preach to you about how much you should give, but to kind of give you a picture, if every single one of us today gave what it takes to send a student to youth camp, which is about $200, we'd instantly meet that initial goal. So that's the nitty-gritty. Here's the important part for you, and I'm wrapping up because I know my time's ending. How? How can you give to the Memorial Fund today? Well, first, by check. You can donate by sending a check made payable to High Point Church and designate to the Geno Strong Memorial Fund. The address that you should be sending that to is High Point Church, P.O. Box 462620, Aurora, Colorado 80046. Secondly, you can give online. Donate by using the online giving link on the Memorial Fund webpage. The web address is highpointchurch.us/Geno. And on that page, you can give online as well as learn a little bit more about some of the things that I've been talking about. It's really quick and it's really easy. But lastly, when you came in this morning, there should have been an envelope labeled Geno Strong on your seat. If you cannot find it, you might be sitting on it. But it looks like this. Keep in mind that flowers are beautiful and gifts are nice, but this memorial fund is an opportunity for you to partner and invest in a teenager's future and to continue Geno's legacy until forever. If you're wanting to give by envelope, there will be baskets out in the atrium, as well as people manning those baskets to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Geno was inspiring. He was compassionate, loving, and 100% a dedicated follower of Christ, as you've heard. He was my friend, and he was a hero, not only to me, but the students that he served. And I want to just introduce myself. My name is Lee Terry. I actually have had the privilege of being Geno's district youth director, but also operate Camp Cedar Edge. And thank you, Brian, for sharing that information with us, because that gives me an idea of how the furniture got on top of the snack stand roof. I've always wondered that. Geno was an amazing young man that every girl had a crush on and every guy wanted to be like. I watched him out on the basketball court. I watched him playing at rec, and he was very athletic. But that never went to his head. You see, he was grounded in Jesus very early on. I was so honored to watch the dream of becoming a youth pastor come to fruition, and how as a youth pastor, he still had that contagious charisma. And again, it didn't go to his head. He pointed people to Jesus at every opportunity. He refined his God-given ability by engaging in fine arts. Each year, he would come prepared to share his talent, whether it was in short sermon, art, or even rapping, as you've heard. That particular year that he came with a rap solo, I believe he actually won Award of Merit as well. So he was very talented, but he was also humble. As a youth pastor, our leadership team asked him to become the master of ceremonies for fine arts, bringing humor and fun to an event that is coordinated moment by moment and tightly schedule-driven. Geno tried to pass it off. He said, no, I'm really not the right guy. But we knew that he was the right guy. And sure enough, he was the one that we wanted. He brought the crowd to laughter. We had fun together. He challenged the students not only to use their talents for the Lord, but to also have fun in doing that. The unlikely talents are those that he challenged students to, like videoing people as he had students falling in the hotel in front of other people, wondering what in the world just happened. We showed those videos. Very, very funny. It was a lot of fun to watch that. You see, Geno loved to have fun, but he had a purpose in all of that fun. He wanted people to know the Lord. As Geno lived out his passion for God, I also saw him at camp, which was a formative influence in his life. So much so that he brought his own students. As youth pastor, he fundraised so that no one was left behind. Many of the students that came to camp with Geno were there because someone gave so that they could experience the part of the fun and the life-changing experience. I recall as Geno brought a big bus to camp and kids unloaded. And after attending personally for many years, Geno not only wanted those students to come to camp, but he wanted them to have a memento of camp. And it was kind of interesting. One year I remember him pulling me off to the side saying, hey, Lee, I don't want any of my kids to buy any Camp Cedar Edge t-shirts. And as the operator of the camp, I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. What are you up to, Geno? And he said, I want to buy every one of my students a Camp Cedar Edge t-shirt. His compassion was that he wanted them to have something to remember their experience by. So he bought every one of those students that came with him a t-shirt. And I've got to tell you, it was much to their delight. One of the things that I did today in the spirit of Geno's compassion, that every person be touched by camp, we wanted to share a camp shirt with the family. And so, as part of our gift to the family, we have some t-shirts that we've provided in your office space, Pastor. So, lastly, I just want to say, I love the name of the memorial fund that you've started, Geno Strong, because his inner strength was unparalleled to any other 23-year-old man that I know. Geno Strong Memorial Fund will continue his legacy in helping students find their way to Jesus. The strength he showed not only at the end of his life, but throughout his life changed us. It changed me. It touched me. And it will be missed by all of us. Yet it will live on strong in the lives of people whom he has touched. It will live on strong as Geno Strong.
They were terrified and cried out to the Lord. They said to Moses, "Was it because there was no graves in Egypt that you brought us to the desert to die?"